So here I am on the Chesapeake Bay. I am currently on the eastern shore of Maryland. Behind me, right over my right shoulder, is Chesapeake Bay Bridge. And I'm out here for two reasons. One, I wanted to fly on this side of the bay and see the bridge from this angle. And number two, after my Sandy Point video, someone sent me a message and asked me about flying over water and if it makes me nervous, and do I have any safety systems in place? And so here we are in front of the bay. What a great place to kind of answer that question, talk about it, and take the Mavic up for a little bit. So let's go ahead with that and jump into it. So I am on the eastern shore of Maryland. I'm on the Chesapeake Bay. I'm only a couple of miles from the bridge, where the bridge connects the western side of the bay to the eastern side of the bay. Here's a really cool fact. I didn't know this. Take a guess what you think the length of the Chesapeake Bay Bridge is. And for anybody that lives around here, locals, I guessed, and I've been here my entire life, I thought it was about 2.7 miles, maybe 3 miles. The bridge is actually 4.4 miles. From shore to shore, which I just couldn't believe when I looked that up. So I posted my Sandy Point video a couple days ago, and Brian sent me a message and he asked me, he said, does it make me nervous to fly over water? And flying over water, do I have any safety systems in place? And so it's a great spot to talk about that question and to kind of go into depth a little bit about it. I'm not going to sit here and tell you this is the one answer for everything, because there's not. And please comment below with your suggestions and with what you've experienced, because again, this is basically an opinion that I'm giving you right now. When you're flying over water, there's a couple caveats that you have to take into consideration before you fly. So there's two schools of thought behind this. No, you shouldn't fly over water at all. And I'm going to use two examples. I'm going to link to a video in my description by Ken Heron, who's another drone pilot. And in the video, they're flying across a bridge, abandoned bridge, and one of the drones lands up in the water, lost, couldn't retrieve it, couldn't find it. They even jumped in the guy jumped in the water, searched and searched, they couldn't find it. Second example I used, and I think any drone pilot has to have experienced a crash at some point in time. It's just inevitable. Regardless, don't even forget about being an FPV pilot, even regular drones, it's just going to happen. And I think being humble and talking about that helps with other people like you that are probably a little nervous about flying the drone, or you're not used to it yet. So for me, it was totally my fault. I was near a bridge. It was with a Mavic Air 2. I was rushing. I was not waiting for a GPS lock. I was not setting it up properly. I just got there. I had fear of missing out. I was rushing, and I launched the drone before it had a GPS lock, which normally isn't too big of a deal. However, I was next to a bridge, and I believe that the magnetic interference confused the drone. And so as I was ascending, the drone tried to return to home, which didn't have a home point set yet. So it was trying to come back to the last known location and slammed right into the top of the bridge and almost hit a car. And if it had hit the car and I'd caused a major accident, I'd have been in a lot of trouble. So that being said, if you're nervous, you're new to flying drones, just don't fly over water right now, or fly over a smaller body of water. You're going to have some risk in flying a drone, and so you have to kind of mitigate that risk. What's best for you? There's no one size fits all answer to that. Okay, now let's talk about the second part of this. Yes, you can fly over water. Now I'm going to say that with kind of a two-part response, and that is, the first part of this is visual line of sight, VLOS. You have got to, as a drone pilot, the rules with the FAA state that you have got to maintain visual line of sight of that craft. If you're in a body of water like the bay here today, the bridge, again, a little over 4 miles. So if I were to fly from this side of the bay to the other side of the bay, which the Mavic 3 could do, Mavic 3 can fly quite a lot more than 4 or 5 miles. I would lose visual line of sight. It's impossible. There's no way I can see the drone on the other side of the bay. So if I were to go ahead and fly it and do it, I could do it, but I'd be breaking the rules set by the FAA. And I don't do that at all. I follow the rules to a letter. I think all drone pilots should. You should respect the FAA. It helps the industry out as a whole. But that's a conversation for another time. So that's the first part of that. The second part of this is that you have to trust the technology that you're using. The DJI drones are notorious for having a solid return to home system. I'm not talking obstacle avoidance, I'm talking return to home. So having a good return to home system, you have to trust in the technology. It's tried, it's proven for years and years and years. And regardless of what you think of DJI as a company, where they're located, and everything that's been in the news lately, you cannot beat the hardware, you cannot beat the software algorithms that they've designed. So yes, it is safe to fly over water if you maintain visual line of sight. Make sure you have a GPS signal, and you always need to know where the heck your drone is just in case anyway. So if you're flying around and you're losing visual line of sight, you're not paying attention where you're going, well, you shouldn't be flying a drone in the first place. And I know I'm going to get some probably negative comments for that, but that's the truth. So again, visual line of sight and trust the technology, and you should be okay. It is safe to fly over water, but I would take your time, get used to the drone, get used to how it handles, get used to how it flies in wind. Because if you're flying over bodies of water, you have to take into account temperature and wind chill. And this is the last part of this that I wanted to cover, and that is there are temperatures that you should not be flying the drone in because of the battery and what the battery can and cannot handle. When you're flying in cold weather, your battery is going to deplete much, much quicker. So you have to take into time account. Again, Mavic 3, they say 46 minutes out of the box. I don't get anywhere close to that when it's this temperature. I don't even get close to that in normal temperatures, but I can get a good 30 minutes out of the battery in 20 to 30 degree weather. So wind, the battery and the drone have to work harder to maintain position. So again, keeping all this into account, maintaining visual line of sight and knowing you have enough battery for the return to home to kick in, you know what? I say go for it. Fly over water. Learn it. Go small, or if you don't have a small body of water, start even somewhere like the bay. Go out 500 feet, 400 feet. Get used to it, how the drone handles, and you should be just fine. If it does go down in the water, well, there's always that chance it could happen. It just depends on how much risk aversion you have. So hopefully that answered your question. If you could comment below, add your own suggestions, your own experience. Love to hear from you guys. But the last thing I wanted to say is thank you so much. I've had a few people, just the positive comments and everything that you've left and the likes. I so much appreciate it. It really helps out a lot, and it just kind of helps me to know that I'm actually helping other pilots, because I spent a lot of time watching YouTube and I have learned a lot from other pilots out there, and this is my way of using my experiences to try to give back. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's get the Mavic up in the air and fly the bay.